Are you ready for the main act of the evening? Oh, let's try that again. Are you ready for the main act of the evening? Without further ado, please give it up for the very funny, the very talented Dragos!
Give it up for Sid, guy. Keep it going for Sid Singh over here. Top 10 talented Romanians right here. Guys, thanks a lot for coming out here tonight. Thank you very much for coming out. I'll tell you guys what usually happens with one of my shows. It's very simple. I have 3 categories of people that come out to my shows. The first category of people is usually comprised of people that have seen my comedy online. Make some noise if that's you. See, a couple of you guys have been following me on TikTok, Instagram, Skype, and other platforms. So I appreciate you guys watching the comedy. And category number 2 is usually comprised of friends of the people that have seen my comedy online, okay? Round of applause for your friends over here, guys. Thank you for bringing your friends over here. Because I know it's not easy explaining this show to your friends, right? It's not easy. No, you don't understand. This guy is from Romania, but he's doing comedy in English. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? No, you don't understand. Every night when I'm on the toilet, I swipe and he makes me happy. What? That is a weird fetish you have over there. I swipe and it makes you happy. What the fuck are you? No, please just come with me because nobody else will. All right. I'm a good friend, so I guess I'm going to support your weird swiping fetish. How much is the ticket? What the fuck are we doing, man? Why are we just not staying at home? Okay, so one more round of applause for your friends over here, guys. They're really good friends. They're very supportive, and they love you a lot, yes? And then the third category of people is usually comprised of people that have never seen my comedy. They have no idea what kind of jokes I do, but they're just here because they're particularly interested in Eastern European politics. Make some noise if that's you. Watch Euronews, bro. But thank you very much, regardless of why you're here. If you're from category number 2 or category number 3, I'll give you guys a quick intro so we're on the same level. My name is Dragos. I'm originally from Romania. Make some noise if you've heard of Romania. Everyone's like, we live in London. We've heard of Romania. We have an idea, yeah. But I'm originally from Romania. If you do not know much about Romania, I figured out a perfect way to explain the country to you guys, okay? Have you ever had the experience when you go to a country and upon landing, when the plane lands, suddenly everybody starts clapping? We're one of those countries. But I moved away from Romania to Berlin. I don't know if you've ever been to Berlin. I can explain Berlin as a way in a simple way. You know, you can learn a lot about a city from the billboards they have in that city. Now, recently I went to Zurich, and the billboards in Zurich said the following thing: where are you investing your money? Now, the billboards in Berlin say this: do you have chlamydia? Time to get a test. So this is where I live, okay? And for the past 2 years, this year I've been doing shows all over because I've been overcorrecting. You know, for the past 2 years, it was very difficult to do stand-up comedy because we had the pandemic. So I was not able to perform live. I mostly did 2 years of Zoom comedy shows. Now make some noise if you've ever attended a Zoom comedy show. It's as sad as it sounds, okay? It's as sad as it sounds, okay? It was just me and this guy, and at one point, we just took our pants off, okay? That's... All right, we're doing this, bro. We are. All right, okay. They don't call it Zoom for nothing, okay? This is... So it was quite a tough period. I gotta be honest with you. Like, if you're doing live, anything live, you were dead, okay? So because I wanted to leave the pandemic with some positive emotion, I didn't want this to be like a traumatizing period. I wanted to leave by doing something nice for myself. I give myself a gift for all the suffering. So I decided that at the end of the pandemic, I would give myself the gift of buying a ticket to Mexico, a little trip to Mexico. This is a nice gift, right? But I do still try to stay true to my culture, my Eastern European culture. So I did get a ticket to Mexico, but I put a lot of effort in finding the cheapest ticket possible. And I found a ticket that was 70% off. And I'll give you guys a little travel hack. If you travel anywhere in the world, be sure to travel on the 31st of December. Because that's when you find the cheapest tickets, okay? So while you guys were spending New Year's with your friends and families, I was in the air for 12 hours with random strangers. And I think I had better company. But I was very excited to go to Mexico because I was going to Mexico now with a European passport, okay? Because Romania has been part of the European Union since 2007. And this means you can travel to Mexico for up to 6 months without a visa. This also means that one German passport, one French passport equals one Romanian passport, okay? Nobody's happy about it, but it's true, okay? This is what we're in at the moment. Now, I used to do this joke about one Romanian passport equals one British passport, and then you left. You did a Brexit, so here we are. But I can always do this joke in Germany because Germany can never do a Brexit, okay? Because a German Brexit is Jerksit. Yes, it's... All right, then Jerksit for me, Germans. That's just Jerksit for me. And I wanted to, to have a little, it's a little privilege, but I wanted to experience it as well, right? So I landed in Mexico at 7 p.m. on the 31st of December, and I showed the guy my passport, and his first question was, where's your visa? And I'm like, well, you see, amigo, I am from Romania, and because of this, I can be in Mexico for up to 6 months without a visa, because Romania is part of the European Union. And then he said, why? Why? Why what? Why is Romania part of the European Union? This question again? Okay, well, let me tell you something, hermano, okay? Let me tell you. Because of Romania's strategic and geographic positioning in the continent of Europe, because of this strategic positioning, the USA and NATO pushed for us to join the European Union so they could place anti-Russian rocket missiles on the territory of Romania to protect against a potential Russian aggression. And I know this doesn't make any sense to you now, December 31st, 2021. But give it 2 months, amigo, okay? And I promise you, becomes muy relevante, okay? Necesitamos, okay? And then he said, no, you're not coming in. And I'm like, pero ¿cómo? And I was rejected entry into Mexico on the 31st of December, 2021. Now, make some noise if you've ever been rejected entry to a country before. All right, okay, well, let me tell you, you guys are all in good position. What happens is, if they reject you entry to a country, what they do is the following thing. Now, I have flown to Mexico from Berlin, okay? Usually the process is they look at your passport and they try to send you back. Now, I flew from Berlin, but they were like, yeah, we're going to have to send you back to Romania at the moment. I'm like, por favor, no me entiendes, no, por favor. Mi familia es en Romania, por favor, no se puede. So I negotiated by crying for 30 minutes. And he said, okay, cálmate. We are not going to send you back to Romania, but we will have to interrogate you. So he took me to the interrogation room, and I was never interrogated. I didn't know what to expect, but I certainly did not expect this, okay? Because he put me down in the interrogation room, he opened his laptop, and he Googled Romania. And then he read for like 30 minutes on Wikipedia. And about 20 minutes in, he's like, and then he turns to me and he's like, Romania? Pero conoces Dracula? And I'm like, is this an official immigration question? Because my answer will vary. Because if this is an official immigration question, then claro, como no, mi padre, no? And I was allowed entry into Mexico because in life, you get a lot of stuff done if you know people in high places, okay? And I had a splendid time in Mexico. I had a wonderful time in Mexico, an amazing time in Mexico. My second day in Mexico, I discovered that I had COVID. So you might be thinking, what a disaster, Dragos. Well, I wanted to be extremely responsible about it, okay? So I went to the first Mexican doctor I could find, and I apologized. I said, Doctor, perdóname. Please forgive me, doctor, but I have done something extremely European. I have brought disease to Latin America. Perdón, doctor. But the doctor is very relaxed about the whole thing. He said like, don't worry about it. We're used to this in Mexico. A lot of Europeans that come here, and we're used to all kinds of diseases. And at the moment in Mexico, we are so advanced that we have developed a treatment for COVID. And if you follow this treatment for COVID, COVID goes away in 4 days, amigo. And I'm like, wow, doctor. What is this miracle treatment that you have discovered? And he said, for 4 days, in the morning you do this. In the morning you take 2 paracetamols. And in the afternoon, 3 hours of reggaeton, okay? This is what you do. You reggaeton and you baila the COVID away. And I was like, reggaeton? You mean the dancing? He said, sí, claro. Now, I was not very familiar with reggaeton before I went to Mexico. Make some noise if you're a reggaeton enthusiast here. Huh? So nobody said, we don't have rhythm tonight. This is the one lady over there. Where are you from, young lady? Colombia. So reggaeton is into sangre, yes? This is... Now, for those of you that are not familiar, I did a bit of research, and I found out that they invented the reggaeton in Latin America for one purpose and one purpose only, and that purpose is seduction. It is a weapon in your arsenal for seduction, okay? And if you want to engage in seduction in Latin America, it's very simple. You have to use a specific part of your body. You have to use here, the hips. You do this with your hips, and it's called movimiento de culo, okay? You do this, and this is how you seduce. You do this movimiento de culo, okay? And I gotta be honest, this was a massive cultural shock for me, because this is not how we do seduction in Eastern Europe. I was like, this is how you do seduction here? Because in Eastern Europe, if you want to seduce somebody, you do not use your hips, okay? You use a completely different part of your body. You use your shoulders. And every girl's like, oh my God. Look at his shoulders. Such strong, manly shoulders. I think his grandfather carried rocks in communism. I love a man with strong shoulders, because if his shoulders are strong, then it tells me that he can lift me out of poverty. Because there's nothing more sexy than financial stability. But I had a good time in Latin America. I came back to Europe at the start of 2022, and I thought to myself, let's start off the year strong. And I was like, I'm going to set up some New Year's resolutions, okay, to have a good goal for this year. Make some noise if you're still keeping your New Year's resolution. Most of you are like, bro, it's fucking November. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I've already given up on my resolutions for next year, okay? That's fine. I know most people treat their New Year's resolutions like a second-month pregnancy. Abort. But I'm still keeping mine. My New Year's resolution is very simple. I wanted to be a little bit more assertive this year. I wanted to push back a little bit more. Because I'm usually a very nice guy, but nice guys, they finish last or home alone. So I was tested in my New Year's resolution. I was flying back to Berlin, this time in luxury, Ryanair Plus. Plus €5 for the extra legroom, okay? This is what the plus is for. And I was enjoying my extra legroom. I was like, woohoo. And then this guy comes from behind. He's like 60. Comes like 10 seats from behind. He taps me on the shoulder. He says, excuse me, can you please change seats with me? Because I would like to sit next to my daughter. And I'm like, because normally I would just give up my seat, right? I'd give up my seat, but I'll let this guy family reunite. What would you do, sir?
No, I'm 6'4". I cannot do that.
Someone's had this experience before. Yes, yes. Where are you from, sir?
Spain.
You're from Spain. No, I do not. My country has given up enough. I cannot give up my seat as well. But I thought the same thing, and I was about to tell him, because in my mind, I'm like, why should I have to suffer just because this guy's a terrible father, right? I mean, if he really loved his daughter, he would have been better at planning the trip, okay? So I'm about to tell him to go fuck himself. But then he senses the hesitation, and he says, please, sir, this is her first time flying. I'm like, you motherfucker. You're trying to make me the bad guy, yeah? So now I'm having an internal conflict, an internal conversation myself. I'm like, Dragos, just give up the seat, let this family reunite, fuck the €5. I'm like, no, Dragos, this is why people, they take. When I'm having this internal conversation, I'm very perturbed at the moment, and it's been 90 seconds of silence where I'm just holding on to the seat. And this guy's getting a little bit annoyed, and he's like, hey man, are you still alive? So I realize I'm being super weird, and I panic. And in my panic, I say to him, she's gonna be fine. But then I hear myself saying this, and I'm like, I now really sound like a weirdo. What the fuck? And I panic again. And in my panic, I say, I'm going to take care of her. So he took his daughter and he got off the plane, okay? Because if you push back, good things happen. But it's very interesting. During the pandemic, I was trying to focus on improving my relationship with my parents a little bit more. You know, and the pandemic came around. My mom is 60, my dad is 70, and I was like, this is it. So I don't really know exactly how to improve relationship with my parents. So I started Googling mental health on YouTube, okay? And I found a guy who had 50 views on YouTube on a video, and I was like, this guy's not doing it for the money, okay? This guy, his intentions are pure, okay? And in the video, he said the following thing. He said, if you want to improve your relationship with your parents, you have to understand this. If your parents are currently 60 and you visit them once a year, then you don't have your parents for 20 more years. You have your parents for 20 more visits. I'm like, wow, this is eye-opening, right? So I thought to myself, once the lockdown was lifted, I'm going to visit my parents. And I spent 2 weeks with my mom, spent 2 weeks with my dad. Now I have a whole new vision on the world. I've decided to visit them once every 5 years. Let's wrap it up, guys. Let's wrap it up. But it was very interesting. I was talking to my parents during the pandemic. I was talking to my mom quite a lot. And I was talking to her because 2022 is a very big and important year for me and my mother. Because in 2022, we are celebrating 7 years since my grandma died. Celebrating? She deserved it. But because 7 years have passed, you guys, 7 years have passed, what we have to do now is we have to have a serious conversation on whether we are going to respect tradition or not. And I come from a small city in Romania. It's called Buzău. It's very famous. We have McDonald's. But they built the first McDonald's in 1998. And when they built that McDonald's, we had 1 McDonald's in the city and 120 churches. When they built that first McDonald's, I thought it was a church from the future. I said, does the M stand for Maria? Even the priest was like, no, it stands for money. But my mom grew up in a village next to Buzău. My grandma also grew up there. And according to my mom, the tradition is, if 7 years have passed since your loved one has died, you have to engage with a concept that we all are familiar with this concept from YouTube. It is the concept of an unboxing. But instead of an iPhone, it's my grandma. So according to my mom, we have to dig up my grandma because 7 years have passed, and we have to open up her casket. And I don't know if you've ever opened up the casket of a loved one after 7 years, but if you do go down this path, a quick heads up. 2 scenarios in front of you. Best case scenario, your loved one is still dead. Worst case scenario, they're not. But apparently what we have to do is 7 years have passed since a loved one has died. What we have to do is, if 7 years have passed, what you have to do is you have to open up the casket and you have to take the bones from the casket and you have to make borscht. I'm joking. That's not the tradition. I'm joking. That's not the tradition, guys. I'm joking. Well, let's see how inflation goes this year. Maybe it does become the tradition, okay? Let's see how inflation goes this year. No, but the actual tradition is we have to take the bones from the grave and we have to take them to the church, and at the church, the priest washes the bones in wine. This is what my mom said, okay? And then you take the bones, you put it back into the grave, and it's game over, grandma, for good. Now, when I tell this to people, they always ask me, Dragos, this sounds like a lot of work. Did you have to do this for every member of your family that has died? And this is when I tell them, actually, there was no need to do this for my grandfather because my grandfather's bones were already soaking in alcohol. And you might have picked out from that joke, and say it with me if you have one at home. My grandfather was an alcoholic. It's a lot of trauma. But he was a very fun alcoholic because he used to babysit me and my brother drunk. So when I was 5 and my brother was 6, he gave us his shotgun. He pointed towards the chicken and he whispered in my ear, kill it. This was his Disney Plus, okay? But I was like, no, Grandpa, I could never hurt another living being. And then he said, oh yeah? It's you or the chicken. And let me tell you, why did the chicken cross the road? It didn't. But what made my grandpa even more fun is he only had one leg. He only had one leg. Something happened when he was like 28. Then they had to amputate his leg. Apparently, he got into an argument with a cow, and the cow won. So they gave him an old wooden prosthetic made in communism with love. Very little love, okay? And the prosthetic was a piece of wood, another piece of wood held together by a metal clamp. And he would walk around with it, and every time he would walk around, it would cause a lot of pain because he would rub against the remainder of his leg. It was a lot of pain. And the only available painkiller at the time was alcohol. So every night he would spend the night at the pharmacy. And he would drink, and he would drink, and he would drink. And I don't know how much alcohol you've had in your lifetime, but the more alcohol you have, the more skills you unlock from deep within, okay? The more abilities you discover. You become like an alcohol-infused Pokemon. And my grandfather unlocked a secret move, and that secret move was domestic abuse. You might be thinking to yourself, Dragos, this is getting super dark, super fast, bro. Can we change the story? Can we make it happier? Can the secret move that your grandfather unlocks, can it be reggaeton? Can you just baila the night away? Well, you would drink and you would drink and you would drink and you would come home in the middle of the night and you would try to hit my grandma. But notice the magic word here. I said he would try. Because he never actually managed to hit my grandma. Because my grandma, she was always one step ahead. One leg, no leg. But I was talking to my mom quite a lot during the pandemic because my mom, in the middle of the pandemic, she did something very, very brave. She moved away from Romania in the middle of the pandemic. She moved to the island of Malta. Very impressive, right? Make some noise, you ever been to Malta? A couple of guys, you've been to Malta, young lady? What was your impression? How would you describe Malta to these people?
I guess it's like Buzot, but 3 times bigger.
Well, I've heard other. Some people have described it as a mix between LA and Baghdad. So it's not far from the truth, you know. Buzot is kind of like LA meets Baghdad, okay? How long were you there for?
10 days.
10 days, okay. That's a long time. You have money, okay. Very nice. What's your name?
Vanessa.
Vanessa, and you also from, where are you from?
Russia, Romania.
Oh, Russia, Romania. That's where the bears are from. Okay. Very nice. So you went to Malta and you walked around. It was nice, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the difficulty for my mom was she moved there in the middle of the pandemic, and at the age of 60, she had difficulties making friends, right? Sometimes when you move to a different city, it's difficult to make friends. So I was giving her some advice on how to make friends based on my experience in Berlin. Because when I moved to Berlin, I would try out different strategies to make friends. And what I would do is I would go to all the meetups I could find, all the events I could find in English. I would go there and just talk to people. I even went to an essential oils meetup. I showed up there with a bottle of olive oil. I'm like, essential. But the whole meetup in Berlin was basically 5 German ladies in their 60s, and they were not impressed. They were like, 999! Olive oil is not essential. And they're like, I'm sorry. Then what is? This is Germany. Russian oil is essential. I was like, wait, this meetup is a lot more political than I thought it would be like. Did not expect that. So I gave my mom this advice, and she was like, Dragos, you're not thinking. You don't think. I'm 60. It's the middle of the pandemic. If I go out to make friends, the more friends I make, the more friends I lose. Well, I was like, well, you're not wrong. So what my mom would do to keep her social life active is she would talk to people that she already knew from Romania on Facebook. She would talk to them every day. She would talk to them every day. She would talk to them every day until they started unfriending her. But then she reached a group of individuals that was more than keen to talk to her. And this group of individuals was a little bit suspicious because it was mostly comprised of my teachers from secondary school. And apparently they can't stop talking shit about me. Because my mom told them, you know, Dragos, at the moment he is doing a stand-up comedy. And their response was, and people pay? Yes, Dragos, he goes there on a stage, he talks to people, they give him money, like a priest. Like a priest. Because that's how my mom understands stand-up comedy, right? It's like, and it was also always her dream for me to become a priest, right? She's like, Dragos, you have to become a priest. I was like, why, Mom? Why should I become a priest? Dragos, job stability. People always die. I was like, you're not wrong. But I was a bit perplexed about their negativity about me doing stand-up. So I asked my mom, like, what's up with this negativity? And she inquired a bit, and apparently their response was like, no, Dragos, he could never do anything on the stage. Because I remember Dragos, when I would get him in front of the class in 5th grade to recite poetry to the other students, Dragos, he would always freeze up. So Dragos has stage fright. Now, this is what they would do. They get you in front of the class to recite poetry in front of the whole school student body, right? Do they do this here in the UK? Do they get you in front of the class to recite poetry? Is public humiliation part of your educational system? But then I told my mom, it's like, you know, Mom, actually she's right. I would freeze up all the time in front of the class when I would have to recite poetry. But it wasn't because I had stage fright. It was because of the poetry. Because they would have us recite poetry written in the 1900s in Eastern Europe. And in the 1900s in Eastern Europe, we only had 2 emotions. Sadness and super sadness. So most of the poetry would sound something like this. I am alone in a crypt. The wind is blowing cold. My friends are dead. My hope is gone. I have nothing in this world but this crypt, and this crypt is made of lead. Around me, I'm surrounded by 4 coffins. The coffins, they are filled with the bones of my dreams and hopes. Every day I wish for death, but even death won't come for me. So here I am, alone and sad, and my coffins, they're made of lead. My heart is heavy, my heart is cold. In my life, I've only wished for love. But life has only given me pain and suffering, suffering and pain. And it is now that I realize that I deserve pain and suffering. So here I am, I have nothing to my name but my heart. And my heart is made of lead. Okay, Dragos, can you please explain to the class what is the message that the author is trying to communicate? This wonderful piece of Dragos, this poem is a metaphor, okay? The author is trying to communicate a beautiful message. I know the author wrote this poem when he was 46 and he had syphilis, but it is your responsibility at the age of the 11 to tell me what did the author truly mean with this wonderful piece of poetry. Tell us, Dragos, don't keep us. Tell Dragos, you have to tell us or I hit you. Pain and suffering. Suffering, coffins, nothing but suffering. I think the author, the message is the author is communicating that he wants the author is telling the reader to kill himself. Is this the correct interpretation? I believe it's a direct message. Dragos, I cannot believe the stupidity that is coming out of your mouth. I cannot believe such a small mouth can generate such big stupidity, Dragos. I cannot. Everybody take a look at Dragos and how wrong he is. I cannot believe the idiotic things. In my 25 years of education, I have never come across a student as dumb as Dragos. I cannot believe the stupidity. Do your parents tell you this at home and you come here and terrorize me with this stupidity? It's not just you, Dragos. This is the worst class I've ever had the pleasure of teaching. You are one of the worst classes. I've been in this school for 25 years, and this is the worst class. Each and every one of you are completely stupid. I cannot believe that you cannot even understand the most basic of things, because it was clear to me and everybody that the author is obviously communicating his dissatisfaction with the political system in 1800s Romania. I cannot believe that you can't even decipher this. Go back to your seat, but first... I think I will kill myself now. So you see, it was not me, it was the poetry. This is the midway point of the show, guys. We're going to take a small 10-minute break to air out the room at the moment, to get some more alcohol. And we're going to come back in 10 minutes with the second half. And one point of warning, the second half gets darker. See you guys in 10 minutes, okay?
Hey, it's me, the guy from the first half of the show, Dragos. I hope you guys are enjoying the first half of my stand-up comedy special, The Best Case Scenario. A little bit of info, I've done this show for the past 2 years. It took me 2 years to put the show together, and I've toured it all over Europe. And at the moment, I've decided to put it out here for free so you can enjoy it. You and your family can enjoy it for Christmas. All I ask, if you are having a good time, is I'm just asking you to press the like button, subscribe to the channel to get more comedy in the coming year. And if you are really, really enjoying it, you can also press the Super Thanks button. The Super Thanks button allows you to donate some money. There's also a couple of other resources in the bio, like a link to buy me a coffee or buy me a kebab, as I call it. But if you do not have any financial availability at the moment to give money, that's completely fine. One thing I do ask is maybe you can help share and leave a comment, okay? Share it on Instagram, share it on Facebook, Twitter, Mastodon, Skype, or any other social media that they might be using. Leave it in the comments section on Pornhub, okay? Just do whatever you can to help get this out there to the people. And hopefully I will be able to perform this live in front of you in 2023 or 2024. But if you would like for me to come to your city, one last final request. There's a link in the bio that says request a show in your city. Please leave me your email there and your city. And that way I know how many people there are in different kind of cities, and I can plan my shows better for next year, okay? Well, I'll leave you with this. Thank you very much once again for watching the special. I hope you enjoy the second half. It does get a little bit darker, so if it's too dark, let me know in the comments. But thank you very much, and Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, guys! Woo!
All right, ladies, 1 second. Getting back for the second half. Round of applause for the second half, guys. Let's... All right, we got everybody back in here. The ladies are back. The Brashov lady that brought her friend over here. Are you also from Romania, young lady? Very nice. An import. All right, okay, very good. Where are you from, young lady? Latvia. I'm not sure if people are from Latvia or they're just happy they know of it. Latvia, we've heard this name before. Very good. Are you from Lithuania or Latvia?
No, but people always...
They compete, yeah, it's very nice, yes. Like a lot of people tend to do that with like, oh, Budapest, Bucharest. Get it right, motherfucker. It's like confusing India with Pakistan, okay? It's not, okay. Very nice. We're back for the second half over here. I was telling you guys a little bit about the situation. My mom, when we left you off, she was in Malta. Malta, what a wonderful place in Malta. But the problem is I was talking to my mom during the pandemic, and I noticed she has something, me and her, we have something in common. I think you might have this as well. We both suffer from something called the worst case scenario mindset. Because whatever happens, we always think of the worst case, right? Especially during the pandemic, it was difficult not to think of the worst case scenario. Because I was telling her advice, look, Mom, the pandemic is over now. Just go out, meet some people in Malta. She's like, no, Dragos, what if I give them COVID, they give me COVID, and we all die, Dragos? What if? But it is something you spend a lot of time on as an Eastern European. You do have this worst case scenario mindset. Even I, when I was working before, I would spend a lot of time thinking, oh, should I ask my boss for promotion? But what if he says no? And then he realizes he doesn't actually need me. And then he fires me. And then I can't find another job. And then I become unemployed, I become homeless, and then I die, okay? So a lot of time the Eastern European mind spends a lot of time just obsessing about the worst case scenario mindset. What is the worst thing that could possibly happen out of every decision? So when the pandemic came around, I thought to myself, this pandemic is actually a great opportunity for me to change my mindset. I'm going to be a bit more positive and think of the best case scenario. So I was like, what is the best thing that I can get out of the pandemic? So I thought to myself, I live in Germany, I'm going to learn German. That's the best thing I can get. Do we have any Germans here? Oh. It's a very shy You know, the Germans are shy now, not that much in 44, but now they're very shy, right? But I thought to myself, if you want to learn German, the language of the country, you have to speak the language every day, right? So I thought to myself, let me move in with a German. So I found a German housemate, and I thought to myself, I'm going to talk to my German housemate every day. I'm going to talk to him every day. Now, good plan on paper, but in reality, I talked towards him. I was like, my mom is in Malta, my father, I have a family, and then he would run away, okay? This is most of the interaction. Run away into his room. And didn't have to practice, I couldn't practice my German quite a lot, but then what would happen is, 4 weeks later, he came, he knocked on my door, and he said, Dragos, I have to confess something. When you told me about your family, it moved me, and I have to confess, I also have a family. I'm like, oh my God, you're being so vulnerable right now. It's unbelievable. And he told me that his grandfather is 75 years old, and at the age of 75, he has Alzheimer's. Now, do you remember what Alzheimer's does, sir, or have you forgotten? But it turns out his grandfather, who has Alzheimer's, last year for Christmas, he told me that he contracted COVID. Now, that's a fun mix of diseases, because do you know what happens when you have Alzheimer's and then you get COVID? You forget you have COVID. So his grandfather spent 2 weeks during Christmas visiting all of his friends and family. He went from door to door, hello, hello, hello. And in 2 weeks, he ranked up 40 kills. Beating his record from his teenage years by 7. But do you know what the best thing about killing all your friends and family for Christmas is? Because of Alzheimer's, 0 guilt. You can start again from scratch, okay? So I was telling this story to my mom. I was like, look, you see, if you put yourself out there, good things happen. So my mom took my advice, and she went to the first event they organized in Malta after the lockdown was lifted. And the first event they organized in Malta was a concert by the Pope. Now, do you remember the Pope, the religious figure, the religious pop star, the Pope, the guy with the hat? And the guy with the hat and the children? Remember him, yeah? Not to be confused with Santa, that's a different pedophile, okay? But the Pope organizes religious concerts around the world. He does religious concerts. And I've never been to one. I was like, Mom, you should go to the concert. Let me know how it is. I was like, no worry, Dragos, I'll go to the concert and I'll film it all with my phone, okay? So my mom filmed the whole Pope concert with her phone and sent it to me. And they advertise it as a religious concert, but she sent it back to me. And I've come to the conclusion that it is heavy metal as fuck. Because let me tell you what happens at the Pope concert, okay? If you've never been to a Pope concert, what happens is the first 5 rows at the Pope concert, they're full of people with terminal illnesses in wheelchairs, okay? Leukemia, cancer, you name it, okay? And they come to the Pope concert so the Pope can heal them. Now, do you know what the Pope does? He doesn't heal them. Maybe next album. But what the Pope does is he has a guy with a massive loaf of bread on stage, and he takes small pieces of bread, and for 30 minutes he throws breads in the audience, okay? The Pope spends 30 minutes throwing bread at people with terminal illnesses in wheelchair, and they try to catch it. They say it's religious, but it's heavy metal as fuck because it looks like a feeding frenzy for disabled pigeon, okay? Now, I know that joke is terrible, but I'm going to hell for it, okay? Now, I was doing everything in German to practice my German, and when I moved into the apartment, I thought to myself, I'm going to sign this contract in German, because I've got this. Turns out, did not have it. And I agreed to rent a room in the apartment that came with no furniture. And I was like, that's fine, mistakes are made, we go back to IKEA and we start from scratch, okay? And because I have large ambitions for myself, I went to IKEA and I ordered a king-size bed. Large ambitions. But the level of my German is very, very low. And I accidentally ordered a single-person mattress. Ran out of money because Zoom County shows they don't pay. So my bed during the pandemic was a king-size bed, a single-person mattress, and a single-person hole, okay? So I decided to live my life like that. When I met my girlfriend, invited her over, I opened the door, and I was like, what do you think? And her reply was like, oh my God, Dragos, I never realized that you are an artist. Is the hole in your bed a metaphor for the hole in your heart? Well, actually, it's a metaphor for my dissatisfaction with the political system in 1800s Romania. I thought it was quite simple, you can tell. And I gotta tell you guys, every girl is a feminist. Every girl is a feminist until at the end of the evening when you have to rock, paper, scissors to see who sleeps in the hole tonight, okay? And let me tell you, it's always Dragos. So I have to walk away and protest, but that's not the hole I wanted. But I couldn't live my life like that because this was insane, right? So I went back to IKEA and I did the logical thing. And the logical thing in this context is you get another single person mattress, okay? This is the only logical thing you can do because you already have one mattress, okay? But mistakes were made once again, and my bed was now a king-size bed, a single person mattress, soft, and a single person mattress, hard. So I ended up with this weird yin-yang bed situation at my house. Yin-yang bed situation at my house. And every night I would have nightmares. I would go from one side to another and I would have nightmares. And the recurring nightmare, every night the same nightmare. And the nightmare is that I'm never fast enough to catch the bread at the Pope concert. But you think, the thing about comedy is what you have to do is to write jokes. You have to take a real story and then you have to exaggerate it to make it funny. Simple, right? Now with this particular story, I had to make it less ridiculous to make it believable. Because the real story is I went to IKEA, I got a king-size bed, I got a single-person mattress, I spent 4 hours setting up the bed myself, then I took the mattress, I put it on the bed, and it fell through. Because apparently you have to order the bed grates that support the mattress separately. That is a separate purchase, okay? And nobody tells you, okay? So the first night with this new mindset, I ended up sleeping on my mattress, in my bed, on the floor, okay? It's like a cartoon. But the funny thing is that because I'm a bit more positive at the moment, when I was sleeping on my mattress, in my bed, on the floor, looking around, I realized something great. That the bed frame looks like a castle. I'm like, oh, it's a king-size bed. I am the king. And my kingdom is insanity. That's the truth. Yes, that is. It's true. This is exactly what happened. You can't make this shit up. Let's talk to some of you guys over here. See what we have. What about the young lady over there? Where are you from, young lady?
From Hong Kong.
From Hong Kong. You've moved here to London. We're not going to ask why. We're going to ask when. How long ago have you been in London for?
Last year.
Last year. Okay. Well, now we know why. Okay. And what is your name?
Nikki.
Nikki. And what do you do here, Nikki? What is your occupation?
I study here.
You study. What is the object of your study?
Graphic design.
Graphic design. Okay, so you want jobs. Okay, very nice. And you're here with your friends also from Hong Kong, or?
Yeah, awesome.
And this is your idea, or whose idea was it?
My sole idea.
You were swiping and swiping and like, oh, this feels good. Very nice. So you guys are all students here?
No,
No, we make money. We have jobs, actually. We figured out what we want to do with our lives, and it's not graphic design, let me tell you that. Nice. What is your name, young lady?
Alice.
Alice, and what do you do?
I work in finance.
Finance, okay, so the devil, that's fine, okay. I can't say the devil in London, I mean the Russian, that's what I... Hey, you know where that money's from, okay? Very nice.
Well, I think better than Russian now, maybe.
Oh?
For my occupation, maybe.
Former occupation, very nice. Let's not use the word Russian occupation in the same sentence. I think it's not... I think it's not good. Okay, very nice. The gentleman over here, sir, also from Hong Kong?
Yes.
Are you also in finance, or?
No, I work for performing arts administration.
Performing arts administration? Yeah. You know, some people consider stand-up comedy an art. Some people, but not my mother, okay? This is... Very nice. Round of applause for them, guys. They came all the way out here. And let's talk. What else do we have over here? What about the gentleman with the clear lack of hair? What's your name, sir? What is? Yes. What is your name? Like the light is right above you, and you're like killing me. Antonio. Anatoly. Okay, very nice. You told me you're from Moldova, yes? Yes. Do you guys know Moldova? Yes. Okay, very nice. If you don't know, give it 1 year and a half. It'll be in the news. Okay, this is. And you've come, Anatoly, from Moldova, Chisinau.
No, sir.
Bulți?
Almost.
Bulți is a city in Chisinau that means puddles. Because sometimes you give names from things you have. You know, this is very nice. What do you do, Anatoly? Accounting? Oh, what's your favorite number? Huh?
9, let's say.
69, bro. This is that's the only acceptable answer, you know. You should use that on Tinder, yes. And Anatoly, you're here with your friends, your girlfriend, your sister?
No,
Just random person that I don't. I'm Anatolian. This is random. We are together. We will never be friends. You guys don't know each other, yes? What is your name? No. Like I felt something, but now I don't. Okay. Nice. Where are you? Oh, the friend is like, no, I'm not. I also am not sleeping with him tonight. See, Anatoly, this is the thing. As a guy, sometimes you just have to. Very nice. And the ladies, where are you guys from?
Romania.
Oh, Romania. Very nice. So you guys, Romania, Moldova. How do you feel about reunification with Moldova? It was like before this comment, I was for it, but now, very nice. Where in Romania are you from?
Oradea.
Oradea. Okay, very nice. And your friend also from Oradea? Timișoara. Oh, nice in the west. That's everybody's like, oh, Timișoara. It's the opposite of Moldova. This is literally. And you guys moved here how long ago? Too many years ago. Do you guys go back to Romania often?
Last time I've been like 5 years ago. Oh, wow.
What the fuck? And I thought I hated my family.
You understand.
Yeah, it's very nice. But I've been going more and more to Romania this year because of comedy. And I went back in August, and I was surprised to see how good things are getting at the moment. You know, you might not believe this, but things are getting better. You know, there's a level of opulence that I had never seen before. And I realized this while I was walking in Bucharest on the street, and I walked into a corner store in August to get a bottle of water because it was hot. And the lady, she wasn't paying attention to me because she was watching The War on TV, season 2. And I say to her, it's terrible what's happening with this war. And then she says to me, it is, but do you want to know the truth? I was like, what is this level of opulence at the moment in Romania where you have the truth about the war? Because they don't give it to us in Germany. And you have the truth about the war here in the same establishment that also sells sliced salami? Like, what's the deal? Do I have to buy the sliced salami to get the truth about the war? And she said, of course. Well, cut me 300 grams of that sliced salami and let's hear the truth about the war. And he says, okay, this is the truth about the war. Are you paying attention? I'm like, yeah. This is the truth about the war. Angela Merkel was a nudist. I was like, what war are you talking about? Because yours sounds more fun than mine. I think I do want to hear about the nudism wars. No, listen up. Angela Merkel was a nudist, and she used to spend a lot of time in Eastern Europe doing nudism, okay? Back in the 90s, she was walking around in the nude. Everybody knows. I'm like, yeah, everybody. And that's when it happened. That's when the Russians, they got naked photos of Angela Merkel. And for the past 20 years, they have been blackmailing the German political system with these nudes of Angela Merkel. And this is how their greatest win was in 2014, because they used the nudes of Angela Merkel in 2014. Did you see the nudes, sir? I saw them. They're good. Fun fact, if you Google nudes Angela Merkel, you'll see them, okay? But because of these nudes of Angela Merkel, the biggest win for the Russians was in 2014, because they used these nudes of Angela Merkel to convince the Germans to shut down their nuclear reactors. I mean, so far the timeline matches, okay? So far the timeline makes sense. And now Germany was over-reliant on Russian oil and gas, and it was great for Putin, but everything changed in 2021, because in 2021 something big happened. In 2021, Angela Merkel, she stepped down as the Chancellor of Germany, and Germany got a new Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. And this was terrible for the Russians because the Russians, they have zero nudes of Olaf Scholz, okay? They don't have even one measly dick pic, okay? They don't have anything. So the only option left was to invade Ukraine to get nudes of Olaf Scholz. And this is the truth about the war. And I was like, wow. I gotta be honest with you, when I walked into this corner store and you told me you had the truth about the war, I was skeptical. But boy, oh boy, you delivered. Not only did you deliver, but you over-delivered because you gave me the naked truth, okay? Crazy. But I've been away now from Romania for a couple of years, but I do spend a lot of my time trying to forget some things from Romania. And one of the things that I'm trying to forget is a phrase that was said to me throughout the entirety of my childhood. This phrase was said to me every day of my childhood. And the phrase was, "But Dragos, what will the neighbors think? Dragos, what will the neighbors think?" Every corner of my life you'd bump into this phrase, "Dragos, you want to do a stand-up comedy? But the neighbors?" It's like you don't even care what they want for you. Like Lady Floricica from the 5th floor, who's 78, she wants you to become a doctor. It's like, because she needs a kidney, Mom. That's why. That's why she wants me to become a doctor. Every day, the obsession with the neighbors, constantly obsessed with what will the neighbors think. Because this is in a lot of countries around the world, this is the hierarchy, especially in Eastern Europe. The hierarchy is number 1 is God. Number 2 is the neighbors. Number 3 and 4 and 5, usually cheese of some sorts. And then somewhere at the bottom, maybe you or whatever you want, right? But what will the neighbors think? A constant obsession with the neighbors. And I remember I stopped believing so much in our neighbors because when I was 14, one of our neighbors, he got super famous because he was featured on the 5 o'clock news in Romania, okay? And the 5 o'clock news, we also call it the murder news. Because usually it is a collage of all the crimes in the country, and they show it at 5 p.m. because all the children, they come home from school at 3 p.m. And they need to know what the worst case scenario looks like, okay? They need to know. Otherwise, what is the point of educating them, okay? And one of our neighbors, he got so drunk that he stabbed another guy at the pharmacy so hard that he split his kidney into 2. The weird thing about that, our whole city was very proud. I was like, yeah, from Buzău, yeah, you know? You don't mess with Buzău, yeah. And when I saw that on TV, I pointed towards the TV and I said to my mom, "Mom, do you see that? That's our neighbor. That's our neighbor. Do you think that our neighbor, before stabbing the other guy, do you think he stopped for a second and he asked himself the question, but what will the neighbors think? What will the neighbors think?" And in my mind, I like to think that he came to the conclusion that, you know what, I think the neighbors are going to be extremely supportive. And he continued stabbing that guy, okay? But constantly with the neighbors. Even when I actually came to study in the UK for Manchester up north, and when I was coming here, my mom was like, "Dragos, you're going to the UK. You're going to the good world. You're going to the UK. You're going to the good world." Because to my mom, everything west of Romania is the good world, okay? Everything west of Romania, maybe not Hungary, but everything west of Romania, with the exception of Hungary, is the good world, okay? So like, you have to go to the good world, Dragos. In the good world, they live different. They are civilized, Dragos. Yes, everybody in the UK. I must help you impress your neighbors in the UK. This is why I have bought for you a set of matching pajama pants and shirt, Dragos, because this is how the civilized world lives. They have matching pajama pants and shirt. I'm like, "Mom, what the fuck are you talking about?" "No, Dragos, listen to me. And also, here is an envelope full of money. Do not trust any ATM for the first 2 months, okay? Because what if the hackers, they copy your card, and then they steal your money, and then you can't pay your rent, and then you become homeless, and then you die, okay? What if this happens, Dragos? This is a very legitimate concern." What will the neighbors think? A constant obsession. But even though the past couple of years of the pandemic have been particularly difficult if you're doing live comedy, I'm happy we had the pandemic. I'm happy we had the pandemic because you know what the pandemic did for me? It killed most of my neighbors, okay? It killed most of my neighbors. What will the neighbors think? Well, let me ask them in 7 years, okay? Let me dig them up and ask them in 7 years. What will the neighbors think? Yes, constantly. Let's talk to the more of you guys over there. What about the young ladies in the third row? Behind the gentleman from Hong Kong? Yes. What are your names? Yeah, you. Yes.
My name is Daria.
Daria, and are you also from
Poland.
Poland? Oh, Central Europe. According to them. But not the abortion laws. No. Let's not be too tough on Poland. Poland had a tough 2 years. The past couple of years, they got a lot of bad press. But this year, they got a lot of bad press because of the whole abortion thing, because they were like, we want more people. And this year, they got more people. They got a lot more people this year. I guess God works in mysterious ways. Very nice. Are you both from Poland? What is your name, the other lady?
Iga.
What? You went Eurovision on me. Iga. Is it Iga?
It's Iga, but in the UK, it's Iga.
Huh? Interesting. When I first moved to the UK, I also changed my name because Dragos was a bit too aggressive. I wanted to have something a bit more local, so I changed my name to Rajesh. Very nice. And you've come here to study, or what brings you here?
We work.
You work, very nice, contributing, paying taxes. What is your job, Iga? Banking as well. Everybody's in banking. Okay, next time, more expensive tickets. Okay. And you've been away from Poland now for how many years?
17.
Whoa. You really said, thank you, no. And 17 years, do you still follow Polish news?
That's why my best friend is Polish. She tells me everything.
Well, that's not good for your mental health. Because I gotta be honest with you, I was following Romanian news for a long time, but now I no longer follow Romanian news because, very simple, Romanian news follows me. And I usually need like a friend of mine sometimes I'm the only Romanian they know, so they send me articles they find because sometimes they pop up on Euronews or somewhere. But last year was a big year for Romanian news because I had about like 4 friends from the UK send me the same article, and they're like, Dragos, have you seen this article about Romania on the front page of the BBC? And I'm like, oh no. And they sent me over the article, and this was the title of the article. The title of the article was Romanian Priest Drowns Baby in Baptism. And all my friends from the UK, they're like, Dragos, what the fuck is happening in Romania? And why are the priests drowning babies? So now, of course, I have to defend my country. I have to be like, hey man, this is culturally insensitive. This is my culture, okay? Don't judge our traditions, okay? Because in Romania, we are Christian Orthodox, okay? And it is a very important part of the Christian Orthodox faith that every child gets a baptism. And the baptism process is straightforward, nothing complex. You take a child by the leg. And you use a cheese grating motion to dip the child in holy water until the child's first word is Jesus, okay? The child doesn't say Jesus, you don't stop, okay? Mama, wrong! Papa, wrong! Christos, okay, we'll take that. A lot of my friends, when I told them this, like, Dragos, this is not okay. Isn't this dangerous, Dragos? This sounds extremely dangerous. I'm like, of course it's dangerous. But this is the first thing you have to understand about Eastern Europe. Only the strong survive. Because if you can't survive the baptism, then how are you going to survive the medical system? How are you going to survive the educational system? You think you can handle metaphors if you can't even handle the baptism? But no, Dragos, this is not okay. For the love of God. Hey, man, you're using the word love in an incorrect manner, okay? Let me teach you something else. This is not how we use the word love in Eastern Europe. This is how, the correct way of using the word love is this. Dragos, if you really loved me, you would take out the trash. See, the original purpose of the word love is for emotional blackmail, of course. This is why we have it. But no, Dragos, you have to do something about this. This is very troubling. You have to look into the situation. And I was like, you know what? I am actually a bit suspicious of this news because there's a lot of fake news circulating around the internet, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to read this article in the original language it was written in Romanian. So I'll find out if this was fake news or not. So I went and I read the original article in Romanian. And I was shocked to find out that this was a little bit misreported. Because in the original article in Romanian, it was clearly stated that they did an autopsy on the baby. And the baby did not drown. This was fake news. The baby had a heart attack from the shock. So this is a completely different cause of death, okay? This is completely different. The title of the article should have been Romanian Priest Shocks Baby with the Holy Trinity. But had the baby drowned, what better way to drown than drowning in holy water? Isn't that a fast track to heaven? But I was given some positive advice, positive advice when I left Romania, positive advice. But even the positive advice has a hint of this worst case scenario mindset in it, okay? Because when I left Romania, my mom told me, Dragos, you're going to the good world. And you go to the good world, you should be kind to others, you should be helpful to others, you should be do everything in possible to help others. However, if anyone is ever kind or helpful to you, you should be extremely suspicious, okay? Because you can be kind to others, but others want to steal your shit, okay? So there is an actually obsession, there is a permeation of this worst case scenario mindset in a lot of the culture. So this is why at the end of the show, I like to encourage you guys that when you go out into the world, try to leave some of that worst case scenario mindset here and try to embrace more of a best case scenario mindset. How can things go in a positive way for you this year, okay? And stop worrying so much about your neighbors. Don't worry about your neighbors, unless your neighbor is Russia, then worry. But this is the end of the show, guys. Thank you very much for coming out. Round of applause for yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had fun. Thank you for coming out. We are, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to do the following thing now because we do have a second show. I'm going to have to ask you to give us a quick hand by taking your drinks to the bar if you have the little glass. And if you want to take a photo, I'll come back to the stage so we can take a quick photo after I turn my cameras because I have to do this as well. But then that's it. Thanks a lot for coming out. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.